The Denver Broncos just get a double dose of good news. It was borderline triple dose of good news, but I didn't want to overhype it. So we have PFF come out and rank the top 101 players in the entire NFL, and your Denver Broncos have a disproportionate amount of young guys on that list who are not just in Denver for a short, good time, but they're here for the long run. A great, great sign. We also hear a syndicated sports network predict that Sean Payton and Bo Nix will not suffer a sophomore slump. We're going to break all that down and more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and it helps me and the algorithm out a ton if you like the Broncos, if you would like and subscribe. So PFF every year puts out their top graded 101 players in the NFL, and if you just do the math, if that was an even proportion, each team would have like about 3 players who make the NFL top 100. It's cool to me that the Denver Broncos don't have 3, but they have 4. And there's something very interesting about all 4 of the players that they picked. And then I think there were some pretty obvious snubs who I definitely expect to be here next year. You almost see a leaning towards like, hey, if this was the first year they did this, they're not honored with that award. But if you just look at them based on numbers and you covered up the names, we have 2 players who were massive snubs from this list that we have to get in. So cool to me that first, not only do we have more than we should on average, if you scroll down, it takes all the way. We're in the top like 20% here with our first player on that list being Garett Bolles. Incredible to me to just see hit like one of the coolest redemption stories in all of sports from all of us after every big run, just waiting to hear holding 72 and looking for a yellow flag. And incredible to me to see that like he's gone from being kind of hated to he's universally loved. I love me some Garett Bolles. Also love the fact that Garett Bolles on the free agency market could have gone out and got an absolute bag handed to him had he not wanted to be here. There are now reports that like the top left tackle in this year's draft class could be getting $4 million per year more than Garett Bolles ended up getting. And that's just awesome that we have Garett Bolles locked in. So you're talking he is in the top 20% and he is here for the next 3 years at least. So that's the position that like, if we want Bo Nix to keep growing into being the quarterback we all hope he is, we need him to have his blind side protected, and Garett Bolles does that for sure. And just seeing here that pretty cool thing, $82 million extension. And that he had 88.8 grade this season, 4th highest in the entire NFL. So if you're telling me that we have the 4th best tackle in the NFL, I'll take it all day. You know, that's absolutely phenomenal news. Next player, again, we're scrolling down. The closer we get to like having guys in the top 10, that's fantastic. And that's the future of what we're building here. Next is, I think a lot of us were freaked out about what's going to happen when we lose Justin Simmons, number 31, one of my favorite players for a long time. We replaced him with this guy named Brandon Jones, and I hyped him up because I went and watched a ton of Miami stuff last year, and we showed it on the channel, and I was like, hey, if he stays healthy, he could be this, but we weren't sure if he would, and he did stay healthy, and he is a difference maker. So seeing this year him end up, I think he had 3 interceptions this year. He had an 89 coverage grade. Like, that's crazy if your safety can guard like that. And he was able to stop the run. Like, we played the run very well this year. And so seeing that he's a top 12 safety, and just seeing that Derwin James is going to be one of the top paid defensive players in the NFL, and he's only 2 spots ahead of us. And so seeing that like we kind of have a Walmart brand safety who's performing at a Gucci brand Derwin James, amazing. So again, keep scrolling down. The further we scroll down this list is phenomenal. And now we are done with players who we don't have locked up for the long term. So now we have you're now getting to close to being like every team has one of these, right? Number 37, the best guard in all of football. So we have the 4th best left tackle, and then we have the best left guard, and that's just incredible. That like Bo Nix never has to worry about the left side of the line. Seeing again, Quinn Meinerz took a hometown discount at the start of this offseason. And we're just going to see that position continue to skyrocket and what that position gets paid. So you're now seeing 2 times that we like have planned ahead and able to lock down the talent here for the long term. And just seeing here, 81, his PFF grade, 99 pass grade. Like, that's incredible. So we know one of the things this offensive line has to figure out is that it's kept Bo Nix safe this year. And we weren't sacked a lot, but we need to open running holes. And was that the offensive line unable to do that, or was that the lack of production from a good running back? And I think it's probably a little bit of a combination of both, but the fact that you have 2 offensive linemen from this Broncos team in the top 100 in the NFL makes me feel like it's probably more on the running backs than it is on the offensive line. But we got more. We're nowhere close to being done. All right, here it is, the exciting part. Patrick Surtain, number 12. So cool to me to see, obviously, him get the credit that he deserves. There's a lot of people, actually even including myself, that I think I wanted Justin Fields. I was just so desperate for a quarterback that I was like, I knew Pat Surtain was going to be the best corner in the draft, but I'm like, the positional value of a quarterback. But thank goodness for George Paton and seeing what I could not, and seeing that we have the best corner in football. And that's just something that like teams are going to have to plan on for every single time that they play the Broncos. Now, I do think that it is interesting to me that he's got four defensive players that beat him out for this list, yet the NFL voters actually voted him the best player in defense, period, full stop. So I think that's a snub. Like, obviously, like, I'm fine if you don't put him over Lamar Jackson or over Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, but you can't put defensive players who all the AP thought he was better than above him. So I think a great sign there. And again, we saw Patrick Surtain also take a deal, and we know we have him locked down. So the fact that we have a disproportionate amount of guys on this list than we should, all of them are locked up in Denver for the next 3 to 4 years at least, other than Brandon Jones, and I think they'll figure that out. And all of them are on the fairly young side. Like, obviously, Garett Bolles isn't, but you look at Quinn Meinerz, you look at Pat Surtain, you look at Brandon Jones. Like, we have a solid core. We have a young and hungry core who are just going to continue to get better. Now, the thing that I think is crazy to me is that there are some guys on this list who I think you could argue, and I actually, it's not even a bad argument, that we have players on our team currently who had a better season than them. And this is where you're saying, like, TJ Watt has to go there because his brother is an announcer and he, like, everyone loves TJ Watt. But if you take a look at TJ Watt's numbers this year, he had 11.5 sacks, and that's the number that most people care about when it comes to that position. You look at Bonitto, and Bonitto had more sacks than him and played better than him, in my opinion. And Bonitto's not even in the top 100. So I get it if, you just got to put that pretty face on there and say TJ Watt's better than Nick Bonitto. But the fact that Bonitto doesn't even crack the top 100, I think there has got to be some politics here, and just saying, like, hey, we can't let a team that didn't win more than one playoff game have more than 4 guys on this list. And so that kind of bums me out a little, because I think you could easily say that Nick Bonitto played as well as TJ Watt, and he at least played as well that StatMuse, you got to get an emoji, get the little cartoon for him. Like, he is here from now on. You're going to see the Broncos throw crazy money at him this year, I think. You're going to want a picture for him, because he actually had a better season than TJ Watt. Put him in your top 100, make him a cartoon. And then another player who was pretty high up on this list, who I never have understood all the hype around him, at least when we've played him, and he definitely does not deserve to be above Patrick Surtain, but that's Chris Jones, the defensive tackle. And again, if you take a look at his season, this season he had 5 sacks. His total number of tackles for loss was at 9. You look at Zach Allen, and Zach Allen had 3.5 more sacks and a ton more tackles for loss. And so that's where I'm just, and again, no picture for him. So StatMuse, get your stuff together. Stop slighting this team. And he at least deserves to be in the conversation. So I think just by looking at that, the Denver Broncos should have at least 6 of the top 101 players in the entire NFL. You also are then talking about, like, hey, Marvin Mims is an all-pro running kick returner. He deserves to, like, be on a list as far as the best special teams player. Our kicker was great. So we have a solid core, and this draft is shaping up absolutely perfect for us to add to the parts where we're weak, because the parts that we are weak are ample and full in this NFL draft. Last to round out the double dose of good news is that we had Sports Illustrated come out and write this article, just how they do not actually predict, because of how Bo Nix plays and prepares, and just how he actually got better throughout the season. It wasn't like he had a crazy start and then NFL teams were catching up to him. Sports Illustrated is saying, hey, that dreaded sophomore slump not coming for Bo Nix. So what could be better news than that? Oh, I know better news than that is that the NFL Combine is like 4 days away. And to me, the NFL Combine has always signaled the start of spring. We almost made it through winter. We've got so much to believe in. Woo! Let's go.